You know what I hear from homeschool moms everywhere? They want biblical accuracy without the fluff. A recent survey by my friends at Lifestone Ministries found that 46% of Christian families say that theological soundness is their top concern in a Bible curriculum. This is why I love the Illuminate Bible series from Lifestone Ministries. Unlike workbook-heavy programs that drain the joy from Scripture, Illuminate takes your family deep into God's Word in just 15 minutes a day. No endless crafts or surface level lessons, just pure biblical truth. Each week's simple 5-step approach walks you through the story, context, scripture connection, doctrine, and real life application of what you're studying. And with one parent guide serving multiple children, that's less than $1 a lesson. If you want a curriculum that's built on sound theology and biblical alignment, you'll find it here. Visit lifestoneministries.org/Heidi and anchor your child's learning in the Word of God. Hey, everybody, this is Heidi St. John. Welcome to the Heidi St. John podcast. You guys are in for a treat today because my favorite person on the face of the earth, bar none, is here with me in Kona, Hawaii, which is where we're recording this from. Jay St. John is joining me in the studio today to answer listener questions. We're going to be talking about marriage the whole time. Stick around. I think you're going to be encouraged. Thank you guys for listening today. As you can see, if you're watching this on Rumble, today you'll notice that Jay and I are not in the studio. We're not even at home. We're here in Kona, Hawaii, celebrating our 36th anniversary. And we thought we could finish answering your questions in one show, but as it turns out, we couldn't because there were just too many questions, and a lot of them had to do with sex and intimacy. So if you missed the first episode of that, you're going to want to tune in for that. This one has, I think, maybe 1 or 2 questions left on that topic, and then we're going to branch into other topics, which reminds me, this podcast is rated M for marriage because we're going to talk about marriage today, and we are not going to really hold any punches. So if you've got little ones around or you just don't want to, you just like, I don't actually want my kids to hear about this, then this is your opportunity to turn the podcast off because we're going to talk about marriage today. And there's nobody that I like talking with marriage about more than Jay St. John. So I'm excited that he's here with me to tackle your questions. Today's podcast is being sponsored in part, as you guys well know, by my friends, Doctors Mark and Michelle Sherwood at the Functional Medical Institute. I love those guys.
They're great.
We know them personally and hold them in the highest regard. And also, they got your girls on hormones. So you're happy about that.
I'm happy about that.
So you guys can check them out by going to homeschoolhealth.com. Jay St. John, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
It's so good to have you. I am like, we're alone.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's crazy even.
It's pretty quiet. It's been peaceful out here on the island. We were just commenting yesterday as we were driving around town, just how quiet it is here on the island. Like,
don't know if it's like the ocean.
Yeah, it must be
because we're surrounded by water.
The sound, because it just we're used to, I guess, the city. I guess. So out here, it's just so you hear the birds and the trees, and I don't know, it's just so peaceful. It's really nice.
It is. We're going to answer a bunch of your questions today, but I thought it'd be really fun just to take you guys down a little bit of memory lane. Jay and I met in 1987, and we were married in 89. I'll just try to give them the short version of it. You and I were both basically interning at Central Bible Church's youth group. I was still in high school working with the junior high girls. I was a senior, and you were brand new down in Multnomah, studying to go into full-time ministry. We met. We had a bit of a disagreement. Little disagreement. Your boy hurt my feelings. It was really stupid. I was the youngest person on staff. So I think it really stems from my own insecurity at the time. I was just really insecure. They were having a staff meeting. They invited me, and I'm with all these college kids. I'm going to go to this intern meeting, and I see Jay St. John, who is the worship leader, very, very gifted guitar player, just the most amazing voice. I could still just listen to you forever. And he was playing a Bon Jovi song, guys. I'm not joking. He was playing a Bon Jovi song, and I'm like trying to make conversation. So I walk up to this guy who I don't really know, and I say, "Oh, hey, I know that song." And he just looks at me like I saw disdain in his voice. He would tell you that wasn't true. But I was just like, he goes, "You listen to secular music?" And I was like, well, I don't even think I answered you. Did I even answer you?
I don't remember you answering. I think you just turned and walked away, and I was like, "Whoa, what happened?"
Jay was like, "What did I do wrong?" And I was like, "You rude. Your girl didn't talk to him for a year."
Because I'm sitting there thinking, I'm playing "Wanted Dead or Alive" by Bon Jovi on the
So clearly,
guitar. Clearly, I'm playing
he listens to secular
it.
music too, and I just didn't get the joke. I was like, "That's not funny."
Yeah, and in the '80s, it was kind of a debatable thing whether you listen to secular music or not. So I was just being funny, I thought, but it clearly offended her.
Oh, and actually, it was probably good
Yeah,
because by the time we got together for real, we were married like inside
it
of a
was
year.
like, yeah,
So it was like, when you know, we're not really fans of short engagements or long engagements rather.
yeah.
What's the point? Like we were
If
like,
you know you're getting married, then
let's go.
Let's go.
Get the show on the road.
Yeah, but we had a lot of fun together when we started dating. We really started dating at Trout Creek Bible
Mm-hmm.
Camp. Our band was doing music, and Heidi was up there doing.
You guys missed it, man. You should have seen him. And it was like mullet he had going on. And what was that name of that guitar that you played? Was it a Destroyer? What was that thing you were playing?
Yeah, I had an Ibanez Destroyer. Yeah, it was kind of a crazy guitar.
Mm-hmm.
It got stolen though.
It had kind of Aerosmith vibes.
Yeah.
Sort of Aerosmith / meets Def Leppard meets Striper vibes. Which wasn't really my thing either.
Yeah.
I was more of and still am, probably more of a James Taylor girl. I like a lot of acoustic. I like all kind of. Actually, you and I, we've had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You guys should have seen Jay. He picked me up for a first date. He's driving. What year was your Squareback?
It was a 70.
So 1970 Volkswagen Squareback.
Yeah.
Basically, it was just a speaker on wheels. And so I could hear Jay coming to get me because there's like boom, 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 boom. And I mean, and everybody on campus really loved him because not only was he a really gifted guitar player and the lead singer of the band, which you guys ended up putting how many albums out?
4.
Mm-hmm. And he traveled all up and down, really the Pacific Coast, playing, different venues. And then you went to Ibiza, Spain, and you worked with, was it Youth for Christ?
It was overseas
Campus Crusade.
Oh, yeah, we did a lot of stuff at Campus Crusade and Youth for Christ both over here. Over there, there was Overseas Servicemen something. OCC.
Overseas Christian Servicemen Center, OCSC.
We were going to military bases and
I didn't get to go because we weren't married yet.
Yeah.
So we were like, we should fix that. And so we did.
Yep.
So we fixed that. Well, I'll tell you, we fixed that right up. We got married in September of '89. And so we're celebrating our 36th anniversary here on the beautiful island of Kona. Thank you to our beautiful friends who are allowing us to stay in their place while they're gone. We're just loving it here.
Oh, it's great. I mean, look, I got the shirt. It's like
I was going to wear my Hawaiian shirt, but it was too clashy, too much going on. So with that,
I think that works. The green.
yeah. It's a little more green than yours, but that's okay. We like to match. We've gotten to the age.
That's right.
We're like, oh, you're wearing blue. I think I'll wear blue. That's where we are now. Anyway, we're going to answer your questions. You guys are going to hang with me because somebody gave me a cold right before I got here. And so I'm sucking on a cough drop now, trying not to die. I hope that's okay with you guys. So if you can just hang in there with my raspy voice and my cough droppy sound. All right. So lots of similar questions. You guys, we answered a lot of your questions about sex and intimacy in the last podcast, and there were several questions we didn't get to because we kind of felt like it was redundant after a while. But we're going to start with kind of a question, sort of ish, I guess. There is a woman who basically is complaining about her husband. Anonymous in Minnesota, complaining about her husband. She says he's a narcissist. He's finally decided it's time to fix things. And his definition of fixing things is he wants his wife to submit to having sex more. He's easily defensive, doesn't take criticism. And she says she feels like she's got no way for things to get better, and he doesn't have any interest in having sex with someone who she doesn't have any interest in having sex with someone who spends all day ignoring her until he wants intimacy. Now, this is important because Jay and I were talking about this before. There's a lot of stuff going on inside this marriage that's really impossible for us to even be able to gauge. And we know that there are two sides to every story. And I just want to start off by saying, if you want your marriage to have a generational impact, you're going to have to fight for it. That means that, and it takes two, right? It takes two. And that's what she's saying. She's saying she's trying and she feels like he's not. And so we're just going to assume, Anonymous in Minnesota, that you're telling us the truth and that you're doing most of the things that are right in the marriage and your husband's doing most of the things that are wrong. And that's kind of a bummer. But I thought, Jay, maybe you could speak to, maybe there's a guy who's just feeling like she's saying he's disconnected from the family, emotionally distant. I'm disconnected from most family activities, the major decisions around the house, and he doesn't really help around the house. It sounds like he's just, and I don't think that's necessarily unusual. We've heard that before, right? A guy comes home from work and he's exhausted after working all day and he just wants to come home and put his feet up and let me rest. Thank you very much. And she's like, hey, there's decisions to be made. There's still stuff to be done. And now she feels emotionally disconnected. Let's start first with the husband. What do you say to a guy who says, I just want to come home and put my feet up and chill out? I've had a long day at work, Jay. Give me a break.
Well, I understand that. I feel that too. And I want to rest, and life takes work, and both work at the job and also work at home. I try to encourage guys that as the head of the home, you are responsible for how things go. Doesn't mean you have to do everything, but it means you need to be aware of what's working, what's not, and how to try to encourage your wife.
Why do you say he's responsible? Unpack that.
Because the Bible says that the husband is the head of the wife and the head of the home, and I believe that means, it doesn't mean that you're like the king of the home and you're to be waited on like you are, like everyone else is your servant, but rather it's because you are responsible for the outcome of it. When you own a business, when you run a business, or even an organization like we do, I'm responsible for how that organization goes. And if it goes poorly, I need to figure out how to make it get right on track again. Doesn't mean I do everything. Doesn't mean I know all the answers. Doesn't mean I know all the books and everything, every detail of everything. It just means that I'm responsible. I need to try to help make that whole organization go in a direction that is healthy and positive. And that's how it is at home. So, there's been many times in our marriage where I've had to defer to Heidi because she just knows more about what she's doing. Educating our kids is a big part of that. I know for years I didn't really understand. I didn't know what curriculum, whatever to do, but I also knew she needed encouragement and the resources to be able to use to do the things that the kids needed and the family needed. So that's again why we are just responsible as the husbands of the home. So to the husband, you got to be engaged, and it doesn't mean you have to do everything. It just means that you need to be doing the things that help encourage your wife. You can't check out. If your wife's discouraged and she's frustrated, well, then why is she discouraged and frustrated? And how can you help her feel like she's engaged? And we mentioned this last podcast as well. I mean, for me, and I tell guys all the time this, I've often been surprised by how little effort I've had to give Heidi to help her feel encouraged. I feel like she's saying, I'm not doing anything, so I have to do everything, is what I hear. But then when I start helping her, I realize, oh, you just wanted help with this or that, or wanted me to talk about, where we are with our finances, or how, your cousin is whatever. You just be engaged with your wife. And what I've found is that it encourages her, and then our marriage does better. So, but I also, I hear this, and I've heard, because I counsel couples frequently, and I've heard women who just, they just complain and bicker about every little thing the husband does. And the
there's a Bible verse about that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I hear that.
You don't want to live with the nagging wife.
I hear that and that too. I mean, I don't know if that's what it is. I'm just saying that's what I hear. So I don't know. I just think, if, this woman has just said that her husband has said he would try to help, but according to her, helping is just demanding more sex in the bedroom. I don't know if that's true, but he's doing something.
I also think, that's a
starting place.
That's a start. I also think that this was kind of alluded to in some of the other questions, right? It's very easy for women, like you pointed out, Jay, in the last episode that we did. Men need the physical connection of sex, or they desire the physical connection of sex with their wives in order to connect with them emotionally.
Correct.
And women need the emotional connection with their husband in order to desire them physically.
Yes.
And so those two things, if they're off balance or kind of out of whack, it's easier, I think, for the women to feel used and kind of abused, because it's a physical act. Yeah. And it's very hard to engage in a physical act with somebody when you're upset with them.
That's right.
Right. And so it would behoove you, men, to engage with your wives emotionally. And sometimes, I have had to say to myself in my spirit, okay, we'll attend to my emotional need later, because it's obvious that your need is more pressing than mine in that moment. And it's a laying down of our lives. for each other. It's me preferring Jay and saying, I care more about you than I care about myself. And Jay saying, I care more about you than I care about myself. And you guys, you're going to have to fight for your marriage. The enemy is after your marriage. And if he can take out the marriage, he's got a clean shot at the children. We've seen this happen over and over and over again. You need to fight for your marriage. And marriage is hard. It takes work. It takes commitment. It takes faithfulness. And it's difficult. So, but it's worth it.
One side note, I mean, we're giving a generality. It tends to be that men want physicalness before they have emotional, and the women the other way around. That is very typical, but
we realize it can also be the other way around.
It can be the other way around, and we have met people that are the other way around too. So.
Yeah, for sure. What if your morning cup of coffee could do more than just wake you up? Introducing ETP Coffee from Equipping the Persecuted. It's a high-end specialty roast crafted with excellence. But here's the difference. 100% of every dollar goes directly to saving the lives of persecuted Christians in Nigeria. Over the last 5 years, 90% of all Christian persecution deaths have occurred in Nigeria. This is why every bag of ETP coffee matters. The Bible says whether you eat or whether you drink, do it all to the glory of God. And with ETP coffee, your daily cup becomes an act of faith, providing food, medical aid, schools, and protection for those who are suffering simply because they follow Christ. Drink coffee that makes an eternal impact. Order now at etpcoffee.com and share the mission by inviting your friends to join you at etpcoffee.com. Here's another one. This is interesting, Jay, anonymous. My husband and I have been married almost 30 years, and we're struggling to communicate without arguing. So we just end up avoiding talking. We have major things going on with 2 of our children, and it seems all of our time and energy go into caring for them and our business. We have so much work to do in our marriage, but how can we do it when we're in crisis? And yet we need each other more than ever right now. Stresses, irritations, not feeling seen or appreciated. We're aging. Some health struggles. She says, we're a mess. We love the Lord. We're committed to one another and our family, but living this way is lonely. Oh. We still pray together every day.
Yeah, ouch, that hurts. Well, life is difficult, and the enemy will throw everything in the book at you. So it's not unusual. I mean, I know we've definitely been in times when it feels like we're just getting hit on every side.
Yeah.
But I think it's important that we start with everything in our lives with, God, what do you want? And if you're not sure how to handle what's going on, you're overwhelmed, I mean, if you're not taking it to the Lord, you're not dealing with it. And so lay everything out before the Lord, pray like crazy. And I know sometimes it feels like God is quiet for a long time, but I guarantee he hears you, and he will work through whatever struggle or whatever thing that you're wrestling with. And he'll help you navigate that. So start with that. God, here's everything. I'm listening to you. I want to do what you want. Have a servant heart and attitude towards the other person, and start with that. And I think as you walk through that, I just know God will guide you because he cares about what you're going through, and he cares about your situation. He knows that you're overwhelmed. He knows that you're being hit from every side. Just keep on, laying it before the Lord and let him have it. Because really, there's a lot of books you can read, and a lot of good books you can read, a lot of good ideas and thoughts out there. But every situation is so nuanced and unique because we're all nuanced and unique. So let God guide you and hold you through those things.
Well, and remember, as a wise man once said, this too will pass.
That's right.
It's not going to, like Steve would always say, like a kidney stone, sometimes
it's going to hurt worse.
It's going to hurt. If you guys will hang in there, you will reap the benefit of coming out on the other side and saying, I'm so glad we didn't quit. Yeah. I mean, I am so glad, honey, that we didn't quit. Yeah. And there have been lots and lots of very difficult seasons in our marriage, difficult days, sometimes years that were just hard, that we were like, man, but you slog your way through it. Yeah. And you say, hey, I'm going to be committed, and you stay in there, you guys. Your marriage is worth it.
And too, I should just point out, even through all whenever we've had difficult seasons, we can look back. You and I have talked about this, and even in the midst of those difficult things, there were good things that we might not even have noticed at the time. Yeah, true. And so I encourage you as well, when you're in difficult times, look around for what God is doing around you, because there may be things that you're just overlooking because you're so fixated on the struggle and the trouble. But every phase we've gone through, looking back, I mean, at the time we might have felt like it was the end of us, either marriage, personally, financially. That's been
Or
a bunch
maybe
of
not even
times.
the end of our marriage, but maybe just the end of us enjoying our marriage.
Exactly.
We're like,
That's
well,
true.
I guess this is what it is now.
But every one of those that we look back and when we talk about them, we go, God was teaching us this. Now we see it. But at the time we didn't, because we didn't want it. We were so fixated on the problem.
So good.
So, just as you're going through what you're going, let God have it, and then trust Him. He'll take you in it, and start looking at what God is doing in that season that is good and wonderful, and take joy in those, and thank the Lord for those things.
Yeah, I think too, know your husband's love language. Men, I think conversely, know what makes your wife feel loved.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just stop, hitting pause in the middle of a difficult season or whatever. And remember, I don't even remember what was going on around us. But I remember Jay coming home from work one night and he just had just a big bouquet of flowers that he'd picked up at Costco and brought it home. And, kids are crying and the dishes are stacked up in the sink. And I probably forgot to plug a crock pot in or something. I don't know what was going on, but, it's like a core memory for me, when you're outside of the normal, or the nights when after a long day with the kids, we finally get the kids in bed. And you'll come upstairs and I'll just be in the sexiest piece of lingerie you've ever seen in your life. And you didn't see that coming. But I knew that I'm like, yeah, I want to put a smile on his face. This is the way to do it. And for days, women, this is the gift that keeps on giving. For days, Jay be like, that was amazing. Thank you for that. That was amazing. Would you like to go out for coffee? Can I bring you flowers? Would you need perfume? Do you need to go shoe shopping? What do you need? It was amazing. Sex is a superpower.
It is.
And I think for, when we allow the enemy to come in and steal it from us, whether it's through resentment or through, infidelity, sadly, whatever it is, just know, you guys, the enemy wants your marriage, which brings us to the next set of questions. We got a lot of questions, you guys, on pornography inside of marriage. And Jay and I have talked about this before at the show. I have certainly addressed it many times over the years. Pornography is so readily available. It used to be you had to at least embarrass yourself and go down to the corner store and ask for a magazine from behind the counter from some guy who looks like he just, he came out of that episode of The Walking Dead. Now you can download it to your phone in the privacy of your home. No one ever needs to know about it, and it can ruin your marriage from the inside out. And I'm going to start with this one. Anonymous in Michigan says, how can we work through pre-marriage and marriage-long issues with pornography? And the scab of, this is a wife writing this. She says her husband struggles with pornography, and I get the scab torn off and slapped every time it reoccurs. It used to be much more frequent, and now sometimes there will be nearly a year of no issues, but when it happens again, it hurts even more. Other than counseling, how can I as a wife move past this? It often takes me a while. He never blames me for his sin, but often mentions that it would not be, this is where I was like, Jay needs to hear. Jay's going to have a word for you, I can tell right now. But her husband often mentions that the issue, pornography, wouldn't be such a big deal if they had sex more often. He says he is, quote, a man who needs sex. So he's justifying his sin.
Yeah, that's right.
And I mean, he's a man who needs sex. Well, okay, get in line. I mean,
I think that's how men are. Yeah, I think that's how men are. I mean, it's true. When you fixate on something, then you want it worse. Or if you, or like we were saying earlier, when there's a struggle or a problem, and you start focusing on it, then it becomes a monster. It becomes a bigger thing. And then, of course, pornography, once it gets its fangs into you, it just,
it's easy.
It just drags you down and pummels you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just a losing.
How does she get over that hurt? If he says, I'm not doing it, and then, 6 months or a year goes by, or maybe it's not even that long, and then she finds out, he's looking at it again. I think, men, what you need to understand is when you view pornography, to your wife, that is infidelity.
That's right.
To your wife, that is you looking at another woman for sexual gratification. And it is devastating to a marriage. It is absolutely devastating because marriage requires that the two of you are committed to each other, only unto each other, for as long as you both shall live. And it requires fidelity. And that really is, to my way of thinking, a violation of the promise that was made when they said, I will keep myself only to you for as long as we both shall live. And I think, and oftentimes we hear from men, because you and I have talked about this before on the show, and the guys will say, well, I didn't have sex with anybody else. I was just looking at a magazine.
That's right. That's the lie or the rationale I think the enemy gives you so that you have a pass. But I mean, I think there's obviously multiple issues going on here, and to try to answer them all in one, it's hard to do. But I definitely think the sex drive that God's put in us is a motivation, and it's put there so that we will pursue our wives, not pursue looking at somebody else. And so when you feel that as a man, just like I was saying earlier about trying to look for the solution for your family, whether it's financial or whether it's direction or whatever it is in your family, and having the responsibility as a man, same thing goes for sex. It's like, okay, I have that drive. I need it. I want it. What am I going to do to help her have a safe environment? Know I love her. Know I want her. Know that I need her, so she knows there's a need there, and I'm meeting her needs so that she'll meet mine. It's
a symbiotic relationship, like in every sense of the word, marriages, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a contradiction, I guess, in my mind that when I want sex, I just want you to know I need it. But if I have my attitude or my heart towards you and what your needs are and what's going on with you, and I let you know how sexy, wonderful, amazing that you are, and that I am, needing that, then you respond to that. So it's just, I need to get my mind off myself and off the thing that's consuming me, and put my focus on you and how I can love and cherish you, and then you reciprocate and get me, and I get what I need physically. So that's how it works for me and with you, and I think that's how most people are. I think it's a common thing, but I caution. I mean, every man knows this. We're not saying anything new that no man has not experienced or thought through. Looking at things that you shouldn't be looking at, and
and
making those
don't bring pornography into your marriage either.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just so tired of hearing that. You guys,
you got enough joy and incredible stuff to work with without having all that garbage. And it frankly just dilutes and waters everything down anyways.
It really does.
So,
I had said to Jay years ago, I learned kind of this about myself, and I started sharing it at women's conferences and stuff when I was speaking, just to try to encourage women. And then ultimately when Jay and I would speak at marriage conferences talking about this too, I really believe, and you and I have talked about this a lot over the years, that women are uniquely wired to respond to their husbands. Yeah. Like I feel like I'm made to respond to you, whether that's you saying you need a sandwich, not in the Candace Owens way, but whether I know that he is just really a good meal would bless him, or whether I know that he needs some time alone, or he needs some encouragement because things have been rough at the office, or he needs sex. I am wired to respond to the needs of my husband. I think that's how God has made us. And it's amazing to me and it's still this way after 36 years. I mean, we're still having fun.
That's right.
And
gets better and better.
It does get better. I feel like it does get better. And I think a large part of that is because we've learned over the years the give and take and the ebb and flow of seasons of marriage. But I think women are uniquely born to respond to the loving initiation of their husband. We heard a guy say, I don't know if it might have been like a Instagram reel or something, but the guy was, complaining because he always has to initiate sex. And the answer was, well, is your wife responding? Yes. Well, then what's wrong with you, right? You're initiating sex and she's responding to you, and you're like, I'm tired of initiating sex. I want my wife to initiate sex. Dude, if she's responding to you, let it go.
Count your blessings.
Count your blessings. She's responding to you. And obviously, the times when I do initiate sex, I just alluded to it a minute ago. Didn't allude to it. I actually said, when you come up the stairs and I'm wearing, sexy lingerie, which is hardly ever, let's be honest. But when it happens, you're just like, shoot, I didn't see that coming. I'm going to have, I can see it. It's a Forrest Frank song. I'm going to have a good day. Right. I can just, you just know, but it's me going the extra mile to say, I know this. I know that you'll like this. This is going to be something, and you're going to be talking about it for days, which you always do. And so I just think, man, it just it goes. Marriage is such a two-way street, and it's a blessing when both parties are laying down their lives for the other person and putting their needs first. Today's podcast is being sponsored in part by my friends, Doctors Mark and Michelle Sherwood at the Functional Medical Institute. I cannot recommend them highly enough to you. And as you guys know, I have walked through a pretty significant health scare when I was diagnosed with a tumor this past February. I got a chance to work directly with Doctors Mark and Michelle through the entire process, from the diagnosis to my surgery and even through my recovery. And I can tell you with absolute confidence that one of the best decisions that I ever made while I was facing this diagnosis was to work with them at the Functional Medical Institute. You guys can visit Doctors Mark and Michelle no matter where you are in the country, and I hope that you'll check them out by going to homeschoolhealth.com. That's homeschoolhealth.com. Lauren in Arizona, kind of a similar question. These guys have been married for 20 years. And he confessed to her that he had been using pornography their entire marriage. About 2 years ago. She said it was a huge blow to the marriage. The guys, this is why I'm telling you, to a woman, you might as well be cheating on her, because that's how it feels. And also, you can't. A normal woman is going to feel like, I can't compete with that image in a magazine or that thing that you're watching on OnlyFans or whatever it is. It is devastating, absolutely devastating to a marriage, and that's what's happened to these guys. She says the past few years have been really hard, to say the least. She feels like their marriage is under constant attack. She knows she's supposed to forgive him, but it makes her angry, stings every time it pops into her mind. And she's reminded of the damage to people every time she hears a sermon or a podcast bring it up. So she's saying, I realize now more than ever how damaging pornography is, and I'm having a hard time getting past it when I'm reminded all the time that there's still some deep hurt which leads to bitterness. Please help me correct my thinking and overcome this. So I would just, I encourage you from a woman's point of view that your bitterness and hanging on to that, not going to fix anything. Bitterness is like swallowing poison and expecting the other person to die. Bitterness does nothing. In fact, the Bible says, keep your heart from bitterness. You have to guard your heart. And I would say in the last episode that we recorded, I think I had said that I spent a lot of my prayer energy asking the Lord, especially when we were, in the midst of throes of raising children. Lord, give me the want to. I want to have sex with my husband. I want to, do all the things that are required of me, or I feel like my responsibility. I don't care if it's keeping up the house or homeschooling the children or making sure everybody got dinner or dragging people back and forth to, orthodontist appointments or whatever it is. I needed to have the want to. And I guess that's how I would encourage you. Ask the Lord to give you the want to. You want to forgive your husband and not fall into this trap of bitterness, because bitterness is going to take you backward. It's going to take your husband backward. The trust, the sad part about this is the trust has been shattered in the marriage. And like, I think it was you, one time had said, it takes a lifetime to build up trust and a nanosecond to destroy it. And I hope people are listening, because the enemy would love to tear down your marriage. And so if you're having a hard time, I'd say, first of all, I would talk to somebody about it. Maybe you've got a pastor's wife that you can talk to, or a friend who you trust their walk with the Lord, and just say, could you pray for me? There's power in prayer.
That's right.
And you can actually, I would have people praying for you that you would be able to let go of bitterness and love your husband again with your whole heart, and B, that your husband would be completely over this addiction and this sin, because that's what it is, and never stumble into it again, because it really is. Man, I just don't think you can overstate to a woman
how hurtful
how
it is.
hurtful.
And I think for the guys, I just encourage you, it's a daily laying down your life and asking God to lead your life. And it sounds trite, but every single day, let God feed you with his word. It can be just one verse a day if that's all you can have time for. And then every single day, Lord, here's my marriage, here are my children, here's my finances, here's my whatever, everything in your life. Ask God to have them and lead in them. I pray every single day that God would help Heidi and I have a rich marriage together. And of course, I'm thinking of sex, which I know, she wants other things too, and so do I. But that's the core thing for me.
What's my love language? I wonder if you know.
it's hers is getting things done, having
Ooh, it
things
is. It
done.
is
Yeah,
acts of
acts of
service
service. There you go.
every day of
So
the week. And
yeah,
you
every day.
you want to have great sex tonight? Please just help me with the kitchen.
That's
Like
right.
it just or hang the hook. But remember that hook in the bathroom? I just wanted to hang a little plant from there,
That's right.
and I was like, "You are so sexy when you're hanging that
Plant
hook
in the
up in the
bathroom.
ceiling." Yeah, thank you.
And then, if you're still struggling with this stuff, then get some help. Find a brother
Yeah.
that you can trust, and get filter on your phone or your computer to help you with that. Covenant Eyes is something I've used, and my son-in-law is a lead pastor, and many others. There's no shame in that. It just helps keep that stuff from getting in front of your face, and it's helpful.
It's so addictive too. And
Yeah,
the people that put porn on your, out there on your phone that you literally, I think a lot of men, get into the addiction accidentally. I don't even necessarily think you have to go looking for it. It just
yeah.
pops up on your phone or, and man, you guys, I totally agree. Just pray, pray, pray.
But I want to finish with one thing too. I want to say this because I think this is important. You can have every accountability tool.
Every
You can have
filter.
everybody, and if you don't care and if you want it, then none of that stuff's going to stop you.
Mm.
So you have to decide in your heart. That's why I started. That's why I mentioned earlier. I mean, every single morning, Lord, here's my life. I want to follow you. Help me do that. Keep my eyes on you, and He will help you through that. And when you're struggling, and it's the hardest thing to do, but you just have to go, God, I'm struggling. Please help me, and He will. He
And maybe
does because
that's
He
the
cares about you.
opposite of, like I was praying, Lord, give me the want to. Maybe you have to say, Lord, take the want away from me.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
want to view pornography. So take it away from me.
Yeah,
And the Lord can do it.
Amen.
Yeah, the Lord can do
That's
it. You
right.
guys hang in there. Hang in there. All right. Lots of questions about husbands and their role at home. Spiritual leader is the number one question that I get on the road. Jay knows this full well because we talk about it a lot. And there's a whole bunch of questions. So I'm going to just I'm going to read a couple of them in sort of rapid
Okay.
succession, and then you can just talk it through. How do you call up? This is anonymous in Nebraska. How do you call up and not call out your husband to be a spiritual leader at the home? Anonymous in Michigan. What if your husband believes but doesn't pray with you? He attends church but nothing outside of church. It's hard not to have him lead me in our home. That's a big deal. How do I submissively encourage my husband to lead our family when it doesn't really seem like he wants to? Anonymous in Michigan. How do I biblically encourage my husband who says he's a believer to be the spiritual leader of our family? He doesn't read the Bible and he only prays with me and our kids at meal times. Girl, that's something. He does take us to church regularly. I've asked many times for him to study the Bible and pray with me daily, but he doesn't take the initiative. I love and respect him deeply, but this is hurting me.
Yeah. Well, these are very common things. I think usually what I hear from men is, I'm afraid of being embarrassed in front of my kids or my wife, maybe even. So again, I just encourage, which I mentioned earlier, just do something. And so I encourage the men, do something. Do something every day to follow the Lord and to read and study and know His Word and ask Him to guide you. But for the wife, I think, it will come across as nagging. You probably won't get any progress by telling them how they should be doing whatever. That's just how it is. You start telling them how they should live and how they should be doing whatever and how they're not doing it right, and the guy's probably going to climb up because he's going to say what I just said
Jay
earlier.
may or may not be speaking from experience. I feel a little experience twang in your voice.
I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know.
Well,
that I
you've
do.
actually said to me before, like I'll be trying to like hint at something, or I'll say, I don't know, I can't even think of a good example right now. But recently you'd said, all right, I get it. If you continue, now I'm just going to not want to do the thing anymore. And I was like, okay, learn to like, okay, don't nag your husband. He doesn't like it.
But what I do think you can do, I mean, kind of like, and we're learning this with our adult kids. It's hard to tell your kids what to do because they're trying to be adults and feel
They're trying to do their own thing.
They want to be respected by you, and so when you come along and say you should be doing this, it comes across to them like I'm just doing it wrong, and my parents have to tell me what to do. They don't like that, and your husband doesn't like it when you tell them how to be a better believer, a leader of their home. But I do know this: you can ask questions. And you can say, I saw this really cool Bible study thing. What do you think about this? Do you think we should be doing a Bible
That's
study?
good
Do you think,
advice right there. That's solid.
do you think it would help our kids if we did it? If we did it, how could we do it? Is there any space in your life, in your mind, in your day to be able to do
I
that?
could say, is there any space in your life, like about 7:30 every night?
Yeah.
I'm
But
just kidding. Don't say
I
that.
think, I mean, I'm trying to think, there's been times when, we've talked about stuff and I just didn't know how I was going to do it. And you just did it. And sometimes that came across offensively to me, but quite often I'm like, oh, good, she's doing it. It's like I just couldn't do it because I didn't have the time or whatever. So I don't know. I just think start with prayer, ask God to guide you. God knows the issues. God knows what your family needs.
Don't
Start with
nag.
that. Don't nag, but it's all right to discuss. I think it's good to ask your husband what he thinks about different things. And in the midst of asking, it's surprising how many things you can tell or at least get discussed and get in a better place than you could if you just came out and said, well, so-and-so says this, and you better believe this, or otherwise you're a terrible husband.
Ooh, don't say that.
Don't say that.
Don't say that. All right, we got a lot of questions to get to. I'm going to see how fast we can go. Heidi, I've heard you mention multiple times that submission should never come up in a healthy marriage. Okay, that's not what I said. I said that my grandfather told me that in a healthy marriage, the issue of submission should never come up. I didn't say that that submission should never come up. I said if it's healthy, it's not going to come up, and that's just a fact. I've been married for 2 years, and my husband brings up submission quite a bit and tells me if I don't do what he's asking, then I'm not submitting to how I'm supposed to be. I'm not respecting him. Ugh. Every time he brings it up, it does not feel like he's using submission in the right context. Jay.
Okay.
Guys, don't do that.
Yeah,
don't do that.
Yeah, it's not. It's kind of like the reverse of what I was saying earlier. It's like you start saying that to your wife, she's gonna be bitter and hurt by you more. So
yeah.
I mean, the reality is, gentlemen, is that we are exhorted to love our wives like Christ loved the church, and that is, if you want to define submission, there it is, right there. How did Jesus submit to us? Or how many he asked
to his Father? He laid down his life for us.
He died for us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's real submission. So it's more on you than it is on her. But I do think, obviously in the home, in the marriage, there is a hierarchy of things that God has set up. And I do think, wives are to submit to their husbands, and husbands are to love their wives and give themselves up for them.
I'm trying to think. I just don't feel like you and I ever have the submission conversation because it just, when we were first married, it was a big deal to me because I did not see it modeled well. And I was frankly angry, I would say, about it. I had seen it abused, like literally. And so I was like, why would Paul say that? And actually, it was Jay and I had gone to my grandparents' house. My grandparents were married for like 75 years. They had a phenomenal marriage. And it's when I said to my granddad, I'm like, talk to me about submission. Jay and I sitting there on the couch, all wet behind the ears. I'm all, probably all of 20, and he was maybe 22 at the time.
Well, there was young families. They were talking about it at the new marriage class at church, and it was going up. They were talking, all these families were saying,
and it was really rubbing me the wrong way.
Well, it was really patriarchal and oppressive.
Yes.
That's what was bothering us. So we were trying to get insight into it. And so we asked your grandparents.
And that was when my grandpa said, Heidi, in a healthy marriage, the issue of submission isn't going to come up because the husband's going to be listening to his wife, and he's not going to be going, woman, make me a sandwich, or I just bought a car and didn't ask you about it. That's not love. That's not love. That's just control. At the end of the day, Jay has the veto authority in our marriage. If we disagree on something and Jay's like, no, before the Lord, Heidi, this is the way our family, this is the direction I feel like the Lord wants us to go. But I cannot think of a single decision. Can you? Over all this that you've just been I don't care what you think. This is what I'm doing. And this is the direction that we're going. You certainly would never have done something without asking me. I just think that's so inconsiderate and disrespectful of me.
I know there's been things where I've said, no, I think it's this way. And you said, okay.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But not like a fight song.
No,
I
don't remember us going different
I can't remember you ever just going, submit, woman. It wouldn't go over well. And
oh, really?
It's true. But I just think it isn't like, how the Bible says husbands love your wives. That's not loving. Yeah. Like you wouldn't go out and buy a car without asking your wife. You wouldn't, sorry you don't like it, woman. That's not love. And it's the opposite of that to lord the role of the husband as the leader of the home over the wife. I don't think that's just never God's intention. And so I think what my granddad was saying was in a healthy marriage, the issue of submission is not going to come up because I'm for Jay and he's for me. And we both understand our roles. Like I understand that I am Jay's helper and the Lord calls me to honor and respect him. And he understands I need love. I need to feel loved and appreciated and valued. And it turns out, you guys, when you do the thing that God asks you to do, and Jay's loving me, which in many ways I think his role is harder because he's actually called to lay down his life. A lot of times, Jay might want to come home from work and just sit and play guitar for 3 hours or whatever. But instead, he's talking to the kids, he's talking to me, he's helping me clean up the dishes after, and I'm sure he'd rather be doing something else a lot of the times. But that's the servant leader that God has called him to be. And I am called to respect him. That means I'm careful with how I respond to him. It's like I'm very careful how I talk about him to other people, and certainly careful how I do that from the platform that the Lord's given me. I respect him. And so when you guys, if you guys are having, I mean, correct me if you think I'm wrong, Jay, but I feel like if in a marriage you guys are constantly talking about submission, you got problems way bigger than submission. To me, there's a husband who's not loving his wife, and a wife who is likely not respecting her husband, and the balance is off. Yeah. And so then a husband who doesn't know how to lead just resorts to submit, woman. Don't do that.
Well, and I think I know there's been things in both directions in our lives where we've made sacrifices towards the other because we cared more about the relationship than we did whatever we wanted to get or have or do. Mm-hmm. And I think that again, that's just
What do you say to the woman? There's another one, but she's basically saying, Jay, how do I submit to my husband when he makes so many mistakes? She goes, I have PTSD from his failures throughout our marriage, and now it's hard for me to let him lead. That's a good question.
Well, again, you start telling him that's not going to go well. Yeah, I think that's a good case opportunity to use questions again. Are you sure spending all of our money to invest in this thing is a good idea right now?
Are you sure you want to buy another boat?
Are you sure? Have you thought this all the way through?
Yeah.
I mean, can we make this decision together? I mean, questions are a great way at getting to some difficult things without telling him,
you're dumb.
You're dumb. You shouldn't do this. Yeah.
You're dumb. Yeah. Don't do that.
Yeah, but
Also, counsel from older
Yeah, exactly.
People. If you guys have people in your life and married a long time, go to them and ask them a question. Maybe have them over for dinner.
Yeah. Well, and here's one that really worked well for us. We went through experiencing God when we were fairly newly married, and that really has shaped how we've made decisions in our marriage and our life.
True.
And frankly, even the principles that are in that have spilled down to even smaller issues in our marriage and our life. So I'd encourage you to look at that. It basically, Henry Blackaby wrote a book called Experiencing God, and it's kind of a blueprint of how to know when God's leading you to do something and when He's not. And I think all of us need that help because it's sometimes it's hard to know what's God telling me to do, and having kind of a checklist. Well,
He's not telling you though. He's not telling you go ahead and buy that RV without talking to your wife. Right. He's not telling you, don't come home every Thursday night because you just joined the bowling league, even though your wife needs you home on Thursday night. He's not telling you that. So sometimes what you're not going to do is the Lord kind of showing you what you should do. It's sort of the opposite of what your flesh kind of wants to do, even though in your heart you're like, I probably shouldn't do that. All right. Jay, how do you help Heidi deal with all the crazy stuff going on in the world currently? I'm worried that my wife is reading too many things online.
Well, there's been times when I've said, Heidi, step away.
Yeah. Only when if I'm typing really fast and he's like, what are you doing? Do you need chocolate? Can I get you a glass of wine? Should we go for a walk? What do you need? Let's
go out to dinner.
Let's go out to dinner.
Yeah. Let's get a distraction.
Yeah.
Well, because that does happen. I mean, it happens both ways, I think. But
yeah.
Heidi is into a lot of things, and I think God's gifted her in the ability to navigate a lot of this stuff, which I think is wonderful, and I want to encourage her in it. But sometimes it's too much, and we need to take steps back.
Jay, how do you respond to people that say that Heidi should not be the face of, quote, your ministry? So I'm the one who's kind of up front, and we get this question from time to time.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And I just tell them, well, have you heard me speak? I mean, God gave her
Oh.
the gift. She is incredible at it. If I spoke like she did, I'd probably do it more, but I don't. I don't think as quickly as she does. I'm not as persuasive and
I think it's interesting
articulate.
too, and this might be a good place to sort of, you guys, there's more questions. We're not, I mean, we're already at, look at that, Jay, we're already at 49 minutes. We're not gonna be able to get to all these questions. I will continue answering them at Fan Mail Friday. So we'll save the ones we didn't get to today. But I think it's a good, a fun little story of how I even started speaking in the first place. You were the one. See, guys, this is all his fault. At the end of the day, he did this.
Yeah,
We were up at a conference that you and I were
we're running.
putting on in Seattle, and it was a large event. This was 25 years ago, and I think our oldest daughter was probably about 10 at the time, maybe. And the woman who was supposed to do the ladies' luncheon got sick and didn't show up. You remember what you said to me?
Well, what I recall is both of us had to cover for people that weren't there. I did a men's thing and you did a women's thing, and my men's thing was pretty rough, and I was like, well, I don't know if I'll do that again.
Well, and I didn't want to do the women's thing.
I heard hers, and it was like, Heidi, you were really good at that. And then people kept coming up and saying, man, Heidi was good at that. So then it was like, hey, you were great. You should do that some more often. And then we had opportunity again, and then, it just kept growing and snowballing until it grew to what it is.
Yeah, and I think what you maybe I think you remember this, but maybe you don't. I did not want to. You were like, you should just talk about marriage, to the women's luncheon. And I was like, no, dude, I'm the name tag girl. I was pretty happy behind the counter and helping people with registrations, and that was what I wanted to do. And you said, no, I think you can do it. You lead the, kind of some of the smaller women's Bible studies at our church and whatever. And so I just put some stuff down on an index card, and I talked about marriage, which at the time, my brother and his wife were going through a divorce. Right. And so I was absolutely broken over this relationship that was coming to an end. And I wanted to talk about it because I came from a broken home, and I was starting to see the same patterns that I saw in my parents be exhibited in my siblings. And I wanted to talk about that. And the Lord really helped me. Well, I got off the platform, and I walk over to Jay, and Jay was like, whoa, I did not know you could do that. And I was like, I didn't either. And he was like, you should do that again. Yeah. Well, as it turned out, somebody that was there from Idaho or something heard me speak and asked me to come do something in Idaho. And before long, I was being asked to speak in Arizona. And of course, now we do it all over the place. But people will sometimes come up to you at conferences and be like, why is Heidi doing that and you're not doing it?
Yeah, I mean, they stick it to me because, you're supposed to be the head of your home. You're the one that's supposed to be up there. And I'm like, well, God gave her the gift. And,
you're the chief. I love that you said you're the chief development officer of the same. This is so good, men. This is worth the price of admission right here. I heard Jay say this at a conference when another man asked you about this. And Jay had said, do you remember this? And Jay said, I really feel like my role in my family as the leader of my home, I'm kind of the chief development officer of the St. John's. So my role is to see, is my wife living up to her potential in our home with our children first and in our marriage? Are my children, am I helping them steward the gifts that God's given them? And that ministered so much to me that you'd see a gift in me and go, let's nurture that. And it was never like a competition. There's never been a confusion in our marriage about who's the leader of our home or any of those things. I think partly because, by the time I was given any kind of a platform, we were well along in our marriage. And so it was the timing was right. But also I think, man, what a beautiful example that you're setting for men in marriage to say, you can you don't have to be threatened by the gifts that your wife has. And hopefully, I'm not threatened by the gifts that you guys do not want to see me lead worship. It would not be pretty. You do not want to see me with a guitar or any of those things. Jay is Mr. Fix-It. There's nothing around the house. I did not know what I would do if I was not married to a handyman. Because when things break at our house, I just text Jay and he goes, oh yeah, I can fix that. Doesn't matter what it is. The refrigerator, the dryer, the stuff.
Away, and I'm like, why are you throwing this away?
Oh yeah.
Fix it.
Yes. I may or may not have thrown some things away, and Jay may or may not have dug them out of the garbage. I'm like, what are you doing? I was like, I can fix it. But there's just so many things about our marriage that I'm thankful for. Not the least of which is you encourage me in the gifts that God's given me. And again, women, I would just implore you. I've met a lot of women in the thing that I do, in the author speaking space. I've met a lot of women, and Jay has watched this happen, who have literally sacrificed their marriages on the altar of platform.
That's right.
Or they sacrifice their families on the altar of platform. We said this in the last episode, and I think it's worth repeating. God is a God of abundance, and he would have us honor his priorities. It's you and the Lord, then the husband and wife, that's the primary relationship in the home, and then the children, and then whatever your outside pursuits might be. And if you get those things backward, they're not going to work. And you're going to end up doing more harm than good. And I think when you do realize, oh, hey, I'm not spending enough time with my spouse, or when there's tension between the two of us, that's when we go, oh, hey, we need to go out for dinner alone. Oh, hey, we're here in Kona by ourselves, having a hoot and holler and good time. And you guys, take time for each other. This is maybe the first vacation we've had, I think, alone, maybe ever.
Well,
a
long
I don't
time.
know, a long time. But as I look back, over 36 years of being married to you, I can honestly say, I mean, when you and I got married, I was pretty broken and pretty big. I'd been, I think, injured in just about every way that a person could be injured. And that was a lot of wrangling for you to do. I mean, I was picking fights with him. It's probably hard for you guys to imagine that, isn't it? It is. But I was picking fights. I mean, I wasn't used to being in kind of a quiet environment, and you're very quiet, except when you're listening to Def Leppard at 7 billion decibels. You're actually pretty quiet. Would you say that's true?
I probably.
Yeah. My ears are still ringing from the decibels, but whatever.
Well, I'm just grateful that you said yes. I tell you that all the time, because and actually I was just telling you just yesterday, I think it was we were driving around, just saying I really love just the overlap of the things that you're strong in, I'm weak in,
And vice versa.
it's pretty stark, the difference. And so I'm just super grateful that God put us together and God's letting us do the things we get to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also thrilled and thankful for how you've become a speaker and author, and the opportunities God's given you and the impact that you've been able to have. The running for Congress was very difficult.
That was something.
I hope to never do that again.
Shh, don't say that.
But I won't say no. I just.
Every time we say no to something,
I'm not saying no.
The Lord always
no.
is like, "Oh no, this is what you're doing."
I just said, Lord, that was pretty rough. But all these things, I just think, we tell this to couples when we do marriage conferences. I mean, God's put you together for a purpose, and those differences that you have, and the unique abilities and personality traits that each of you has, God's put that chemistry, whatever it is, together for a kingdom purpose. And I just we encourage you, pray and look for what God has for you to do. And I think when you start doing that, other things that we've been wrestling through here today start falling in line, because as you follow the Lord and he is doing in you what he wants to do with you as a couple, it starts blessing every part of your marriage, and it's more fun. And I every single morning when I'm praying for our marriage and our family, I'm like, thank you, God. I don't even know how we got here. I mean, I remember, but it wasn't because I was so smart or crafty. It's because God called us to things that we said yes to. And in doing that, he'd bless us and then take us to the next level. And that's what he can do with you if you let him have your personal life and have your marriage. So let him have your home. And then just start thanking him for all the good things that he's doing in your life, personally and as a couple.
I love the idea of saying yes to things. We said yes to children.
Yeah.
We said yes to starting a ministry to homeschooling families when it just seemed like a crazy thing to do, but we knew the Lord was asking us. You have said yes to laying your life down for me and our children over and over and over again. And I've tried to say yes to blessing you in as many ways as I could. And I think that yes, those little yeses over a season, over years, through difficulty, those yeses to do what God would have you do, turns out to be the greatest blessing. And truly, you guys, more than money, There's nothing that Jay and I are more thankful for in our lives. Not the platform, not the ministry, not Family Planning, which we're super thankful for. We're thankful for our children.
Yep.
And that the Lord, I mean, through many seasons of like, really struggling financially, and dry seasons and hard seasons, we're so thankful, especially I think that we said yes to children. Yes to the blessing of a family that kind of is outside of what most people consider to be the norm these days, but there's still nothing better.
That's right.
Than our kids and our marriage
That's
and our
right.
family. So guys, invest in the things that really matter, and God's gonna multiply those efforts. Jay St. John, you are my national treasure. I'm so
Well,
thankful for you.
back at you. You're treasure yourself.
It's been a lot of fun. Podcasting with Jay today. I hope this has been encouraging for you guys. I mean, you can see we're very different. We tend to have very different personalities and very different approaches, and I think it's part of what's made our relationship so much fun over all these years.
36 years.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Not long enough.
So he says that whenever someone asks him, how long have you been married? And he can't remember. And then he'll say, not long enough. But he knows how long he's been married. How long have you been married, Jay?
36 years.
That's right. It's not long enough. Thank you guys so much for listening today. I hope this has been encouragement for you. We'd love to hear from you. You can reach out to me directly by going to HeidiSt.John.com/fan mail Friday. That's where we look to answer your questions. Also, big news, my Bible studies, my women's Bible studies that I have been writing now, they're mostly mine, but then also some of them are written by staff members over the years. Those have all been put online finally. So you can go and download those. You can use them for your women's Bible studies. We just ask that you purchase those studies individually, or you reach out to us for a group license if there's more than 10 of you that wants to study one of those studies. But honestly, you guys, there's some of my favorites. One of them is called Gird Up Girl. It's about spiritual warfare and how we can put on the armor of God. There are Bible studies about marriage. There's a wonderful study, if I do say so myself, on the book of Revelation called People Get Ready. If you're interested in studying the Revelation and you're interested in Bible prophecy, you probably would really love that one. But if you go to HeidiSt.John.com and just click on the store and then click on the Bible studies, you'll see there's, I think, over 35 of them now. We've been working really hard to get those up on the website for you, and they are available now. So we hope you guys will check them out. Study the Word of God, you guys. The answers that you're looking for are not here necessarily at a podcast with Jay and Heidi. They definitely are in the Word of God. So we hope you'll make it a habit to study God's Word, and you can read along with me by joining my women's Bible study ministry at faiththatspeaks.com. We love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. I know that your listening is a blessing to both me and my husband, and we're thankful for each and every one of you. And I'll see you back here again at the intersection of faith and culture. Thanks, baby.